Final Fantasy VII is an absolute monster of a game. So much so that in order to do justice to the original, the remake is being broken up into 3 complete games. Not 3 parts of a game, and not a game with 2 DLCs, but 3 entirely complete experiences. So today, let's take a look at everything that Rebirth encompasses based on the timeline of the original game, and break down the top 10 moments you should be the most excited about. I've tried to put this list in order of the most awesome, however the first one is so obvious that even though I was going to put it right at the top, we'll talk about it first because it's so obvious that it was going to be on this list, and it is of course the Gold Saucer. Already in the original, there were no less than 7 different zones, including Event, Ghost, Round, Speed, Wonder, Battle, and of course Chocobo. And it has been confirmed that the Gold Saucer will include at least all of these zones, if not more, with every single one being even more fleshed out, all the minigames being expanded on, and the Gold Saucer effectively being an entire world in and of itself. There are too many experiences within the Gold Saucer that I'm excited about, that if I was to list them all off, the entire video would just be me fanboying over the Gold Saucer. So the only thing I will say specifically before we move on to number 9 is how excited I am for the battle arena. I love these round-based fights that really test your skills in Final Fantasy games. I think they did it so well in the FF7 remake, and I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table in Rebirth. Oh, and of course, let's not forget that you can sleep in a ghost hotel. I am so excited for this. Sorry, I know I said 1, that's 2. I'm trying to restrain myself, I promise. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Before we move into the next section, I'd like to thank the sponsor for today's video, Star Trek Fleet Command. Star Trek Fleet Command is an open-world game offering vast and diverse landscapes, allowing players to explore freely and engage with the deep lore. Fleet Command also offers a new immersive Star Trek story set in the Kelvin timeline, with new narratives, dimensions, and storylines in the Star Trek universe. In this game, you can experience the entire universe with all your favorite franchises, building mighty ships including the USS Enterprise, the Romulan Warbird, and even the Klingon Bird of Prey. The game is entirely free, and every month new events and content are added to the game. So if that sounds good to you, new players can use the promo code WARPSPEED to obtain 10 epic shards of Kirk. Use my link below to download Star Trek Fleet Command now to enjoy in-game contests, experiences, and giveaways, and also become a member of a mighty alliance. It's Fleet Command's 5th year anniversary right now, so now is a great time to jump in using my link below to download the game. And don't forget, when you log in, use the promo code WARPSPEED to obtain 10 epic shards of Kirk. Thank you for listening, now let's get back to the video. As you probably already know, it's been confirmed that both Vincent and Cid are recruitable to your party in Rebirth, and that means that we get to visit Rocket Town. Rocket Town to me always felt like a little bit of an afterthought. It wasn't quite as fleshed out and as big as it could have been, considering the significant events that happen in this location, with you gaining access to this game's airship, the Highwind. So I am really anticipating Rocket Town in Rebirth, hoping that it is going to be as magnificent and awe-inspiring as it should be, seeing the Highwind and of course the abandoned rocket off in the distance. Also, Cid's relationship with his assistant Shira was always hilarious to me. So I'm really excited to see these two characters fully brought to life and voiced. I think that scene is going to be absolutely brilliant. Especially the bit, I really hope they keep this in the game, where Cid is impatiently barking at Shira to make you all a cup of tea. I adored the interactions in Remake, so I'm sure they're going to do this justice. Number 8 on the list is the fact that we get to fight alongside Sephiroth. During the flashbacks in Nibelheim, you can see that not only do we get to fight alongside Sephiroth like we did in the original, but it appears as though this time we can actually control him. As we all probably fondly remember from the original, pretty much every fight would start with Cloud instantly dying, and then Sephiroth, completely uncontrollable, would just solo all the enemies himself, and you would feel very redundant and a little bit deflated. However, now it looks as though you do control both characters and you are fighting side by side, even with synergy moves being shown off. The fact that this is just one small flashback section of what is likely to be a 100+ hour game, and they have bothered to create synergy moves, gives me so much hope for the quality of the rest of the game. And this section is a moment I am very, very excited about. I just hope that, like in the original, we do again get to fight a red dragon. That would be so cool. Number 7 is just getting to explore the open world on our various Chocobos. Whether it be gliding over the open plains or literally climbing up the side of mountains, I am so excited for all the different traversal options available to us and all of the secrets and hidden loot and Easter eggs and optional encounters and bosses that we get to experience whilst traversing the world with all of these different options. I am very devastated that Chocobo breeding isn't in the game, but the fact that they haven't taken out the various different breeds and we can still capture and collect them and then utilize them not just for traversal but also for the racing does give me much hope and promise. And from a few journalists early hands-on with the game, they have said that the actual controlling and navigation of the Chocobos feels just as good as it looks. And the last one for the bottom half of this list is Costa del Sol. I adore the soundtrack in Costa del Sol from the original, so I really hope that it is the exact same, just modernized and made even more funky, because it was such a good feeling. Such a chill area, and I just loved the whole vibe of this zone. If I ever needed to go and do some chores, I would literally just leave Cloud sat in Costa del Sol so I could just listen to the soundtrack. Yes, I'm that old. This was before I could just stick it on YouTube. Shut up. And also, who here remembers that you could even buy a house in Costa del Sol? I really hope you can still do that. I know it was very expensive and you didn't really have the funds to do it until way later on in the game, so maybe that won't be until the final part of the trilogy, but hopefully that option's still there, because that was a cool little gimmick, and it would be a nice Easter egg to have it still be there, even if it's not currently purchasable yet. Now, as we enter into the top half of the list, number 5 is being able to finally play as Red 13. And on top of that, being able to complete his questline at Cosmo Canyon and unlock his true passion as the warrior Nanaki. He was always my favorite character, especially after going through this revelation. So the fact that this has really been built in and embedded into the game, and there are 2 versions of every single quest for when he has had this experience, fills me with so much joy. I am going to be racing to Cosmo Canyon and acquiring the true version of Nanaki as soon as I can. And just before we move into number 4, I want to ask you, what are your most anticipated moments? What do you recall being really fond of during the middle segment of Final Fantasy VII? What are you hoping is going to be completely rebuilt from the ground up, bigger and better than ever? My 4th most anticipated moment for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is Nibelheim, but more specifically Shinra Mansion. I love gothic, dark and gritty, I love horror, and Shinra Mansion is about as close as this game gets to that vibe and feeling and aesthetic. It's such a creepy house, both outside and in. It has terrifying vibes. And hopefully it's as eerie and spooky in Rebirth as it was in the original. Actually, hopefully even more so. Being able to explore the mansion over the shoulder rather than top down is something I'm really excited about. Because if you remember, Shinra Mansion was actually one of the most top down areas in the game. Like, you felt so far away from the mansion that you never really got to feel like you were properly inside of any of the rooms. So experiencing this whole area on our new modern systems, I think is just going to be absolutely amazing. Now, as we move into the top 3, we have got Avalanche at Sea. Specifically the boat that you take from Junon over to Costa del Sol. This whole sequence of events is beautifully done. Seeing everyone in their disguises, seeing Red 13 awkwardly waddling around on his hind legs trying to stay in disguise, and seeing Barrett in his overly tight sailor outfit. This whole sequence is hilarious and one of the most memorable moments of the original for me. Not to mention the Genova boss fight that actually takes place on the ship near the end of this sequence of events. There's some really cool moments on this boat, and hopefully there'll be some actual proper stealth sections. I'm really looking forward to sneaking around and finding hidden loot, and properly trying to blend in as a sailor. If they do it justice, this whole section is going to be absolutely incredible. And now, finally, as we move into the top 2, it was very hard for me to choose which of these 2 to put first because I am very excited for both of them. One is a mini game and one is a boss fight. I adore my mini games, so I've opted to put the boss fight second, and that is the boss fight with the Midgar Zolom. A giant serpent-like creature, dozens of feet tall, that will track anything that dares to step foot in the marshes. Of course, the correct way to do this was jump on your Chocobo and sprint through the marshes. That way you could outrun it and avoid it until you got to the cave on the other side. However, as we all know, the correct way to do it is to run headfirst into it and do your best to fight it, along with acquiring the enemy skill Beta. This hopefully will be an awe-inspiring boss fight, and definitely one I will not skip, even if it is optional. The Midgar Zolom will die, and it will be both glorious and terrifying. And finally, as we move into my most anticipated moment for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, please, if you've been enjoying this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And if you haven't already, comment what your most anticipated moment is for Rebirth. My most anticipated moment is the major city and military installation of Junon. Specifically, I'm talking about the parade. Now that Cloud gets to command his own regiment and you have to go around gathering up soldiers and learning formations, that sounds amazing. But this whole section is really, really fun to play. I'm imagining there's going to be lots of shops, lots of loot, lots of Easter eggs. Hopefully we may even get to play poker with the Turks, you never know. We got kicked out last time, but here's to hoping. There is just so many awesome moments in this city. And it seems like this is one area that the team have really spent a lot of time fleshing out. So I imagine it is going to be absolutely amazing. And my friends, that is it for my top 10 most anticipated moments for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So as always, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.